Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Scorebook Stories. I'm Alec. I hope you all are having a wonderful day today. We have a big show today. It is all about the AL Central. But first, we have a bit of baseball news that we have to get into, and that is the fact that the 2026 WBC teams are official and it is set for 2026. I'm so excited. We are going to dive in a little bit on that right now. The teams that are in for the World Baseball Classic are Puerto Rico, Cuba, Canada, Panama, USA, Mexico, Italy, Great Britain, Japan, Australia, South Korea, the Czech Republic, Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Netherlands, Israel, Nicaragua, Chinese Taipei, Colombia, and Brazil. I'm excited. I absolutely love it. I love the Czech Republic. I know they have no shot of winning this thing, but I just love them. I think they're so cool. It's just really fun to listen to the announcers talking about how, so and so's pitching today. And in his everyday life, he's a school teacher. Playing second base is a mechanic. Like, I think that's just part of the fun of the World Baseball Classic. I also think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch the Netherlands compete. Don't know why. I'm really just curious to see who's going to end up being on that team. Team Israel usually has some pretty notable ball players that end up on their roster as well. But right now, can't really pick a winner because I don't know who's going to be playing in the World Baseball Classic right now. I don't know what the finalized rosters are going to be, but overall, I do enjoy the World Baseball Classic. Some underdogs that I think might have a chance are South Korea or Italy, but it is kind of still a slim chance because the United States, Mexico, and Japan are probably still going to be the heavy favorites and the most dominant teams going into the 2026 World Baseball Classic. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to hear who's going to end up playing on these teams and representing their countries. To kick things off in the AL Central, we have the Chicago White Sox. And the White Sox, they had a year last year. I'll put it that way. It was not good. As you can see, if you're watching this on YouTube, 41 and 121 scrolling along the bottom of the screen. Terrible year. Absolutely brutal year for the Chicago White Sox. And a number of exits for their team happened this year, all in the form of depth for other guys to just move on and get out of Chicago. Yoan Moncada being one of the bigger free agents from the 2024 roster to leave this team. Also dealt in a trade for Kyle Teal and other prospects was Garrett Crochet to the Red Sox. That is a sheer sign that the White Sox aren't really trying this year. They brought in Mike Tauchman, Josh Rojas, Joey Gallo, Michael A. Taylor, Austin Slater, Matt Thies, and Brandon Drury. All are going to be on this roster this year. They're great players. They are really great players. However, not very impressive in terms of improvement. I really don't think that these additions are showing me that the White Sox are trying to go out and win the AL Central at all. I don't think it's going to happen. Other notable fixtures will be Martin Perez and Bryce Wilson in the rotation, who have been in the MLB for a while. But the White Sox have a lot of pitchers at spring training this year with barely any service time, excluding Perez and Wilson. Perez with 12 plus, Wilson with 4 plus. The White Sox have 18 starting pitchers with them in Arizona, and combined they have 6.637 years of service time. 18 guys with under 7 years of service time at spring training for them. I think they're going to look to deal Perez and Wilson at some point for additional prospects and just let their young guys go out and see what happens. I really don't think that they're looking to win games with this starting rotation. It does not look good for them, really, at all. The additions made really just it just doesn't show a winning attitude. The lack of experience on this roster is a bit concerning, but young guys can sometimes be the spark that ignites a fire. I will admit that sometimes a lot of young guys can just come out of nowhere. They can all play ball and they're having a good time doing it. But I do not believe that is going to be the case here. And I would not be shocked if the White Sox have another season with under 50 wins. Really wouldn't be surprised at all. The White Sox are at a point now where they just need to build the farm. Kyle Teal is a stud catcher, and I expect him to be in the MLB this year, and he's probably going to be the only bright spot for the White Sox. He's probably going to play very, very well. I think his numbers will be a little lower than expected, mainly because the White Sox aren't good, and he's not going to have good morale going out there and playing for the Chicago White Sox. So I do have a feeling Kyle Teal may be a little underwhelming at first, but I know watching him play in the minor leagues, he's a stud, and he is going to be a really great catcher one day. Hopefully, it's not on the White Sox, because right now they don't look good. I would like the White Sox to deal Kyle Teal to some team that needs a catcher that is going to basically give him the chance to be the player that everyone knows that he can be. Next up, we have the Minnesota Twins, and the Twins finished fourth with an 82-80 record, kind of mid, just kind of hanging on and playing ball. But leaving the Twins in free agency are some solid depth guys like Carlos Santana and Max Kepler, who are great players, but losing them shouldn't be too detrimental to this team. Those losses were filled up with pretty equivalent talent in Ty France and Harrison Bader. Both of these guys, I think, are expected to hit somewhere around 250 with an on-base percentage of about 300. I do think that these guys will be able to help the Twins get some additional wins. But I still don't think it's going to be enough compared to the Royals, Tigers, and Guardians. I think those three teams are still a little bit better, but we're going to get into that a little bit later. Overall, I think the Twins team is going to revolve around Royce Lewis. He is a stud. He is very, very good, and I'm always very impressed with the way he plays. And we even saw it last year a little bit when he got injured. The Twins really started to struggle for a good stretch of the year. The additions of Bader on a one-year deal tells me that Minnesota could be ready for Emmanuel Rodriguez, who's the 24th best prospect in MLB, and Walker Jenkins, who is the 13th best prospect in MLB. They're probably expecting those guys to make their MLB debut within the next few seasons. Rodriguez, even though he's lower on the rankings, I think he may be a little more MLB ready for the Twins. So I think he could end up seeing a September call-up. Jenkins probably not until 2026. Maybe beginning of the year 2027. But either way, I think those two guys are pretty much primed and getting ready to make their MLB debuts. So I think the Twins aren't going to be looking for a long-term outfielder because they have these two young guys getting ready to come up. But even though Santana and Kepler were adequately replaced, I would not have really... I would have liked to see the Twins do something a little bit bigger in the offseason than these two guys. Get some guys that are a little bit more established, some guys that are a little bit more reliable, I guess you could say. I don't know if that's the right word here, but I just wanted to see the Twins do a little bit more. The starting rotation of Ober, Ryan, Lopez, Wood Richardson, and Paddock is solid, but I would not be surprised to see a few call-ups to replace Woods Richardson and Paddock if no trade is made for more established starters. I don't think the Twins really did enough to improve their roster this offseason and improve their chances to sit on top of the AL Central. I am excited to see guys like Brooks Lee really get his shot. He's been playing really well in spring training. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Brooks Lee can do at the big leagues, and I would not be surprised if Minnesota calls up Luke Keeschel as well at some point. Probably around the All-Star break. He looks pretty MLB ready, and I really like the way that he plays the game in the infield. So Brooks Lee and Luke Keeschel, I think, are going to be key parts of this Minnesota Twins team for some years to come. But overall this year, I'm not expecting too much out of the Minnesota Twins other than a very similar record, maybe a game or two better or a game or two worse. But I think they're going to end up being around the same kind of production that they had last year. Stay up to date on everything going on in the sports world by heading over to Seven Mountain Sports on Facebook, Seven Mountain Sports on X, on Instagram. We are on all of your favorite platforms, and you do not want to miss out on a single thing going on here at Seven Mountain Sports. Next up, we have the Kansas City Royals, who finished third in the AL Central and were eliminated in the American League Divisional Series by the New York Yankees. The Royals also are seeing some depth leave the clubhouse in Adam Frazier, Tommy Pham, and Paul DeYoung. They also sent Brady Singer to Cincinnati, but they did receive a great second baseman to play up the middle with Bobby Witt Jr. in Jonathan India. I think Jonathan India is one of the better second basemen in the league defensively. I do not think he has the best bat I've seen. It doesn't blow me away, but it is reliable. And I definitely think that defensively is where most of India's value actually is. Last season, he only made 4 errors over his 130 plus games played at second base. So he's very reliable with the glove. And I think that the Royals are going to be very pleased with that trade come the end of the year. Also, the Royals are bringing in Carlos Estevez to strengthen up the bullpen a little bit. Kansas City also is bringing in some veteran depth in on MILB minor league deals. Kevin Biggio, Ross Stripling, Luke Mail will all be hanging out in AAA as of the latest projections. However, I would not be surprised if at least Ross Stripling makes this MLB team to start the season on opening day. I think the Royals are a team that has a lot of upside, but also could fall to the bottom of this division very easily. I definitely think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to have another all-star season, borderline MVP season, and it will likely have to be better defensively with Jonathan India on the infield with him. If India can beat out Michael Massey, I think that infield will be pretty solid. Either way, Michael Massey also solid second baseman. I think those two are going to end up platooning a little bit here to start the season. But either way, we're going to probably not really know who's going to be the everyday second baseman probably till a month or two, maybe 3 months into the season. Vinny Pasquantino, MJ Menendez, and Kyle Isbell need to produce at a near all-star level if the Royals want to have any chance of winning this division and putting themselves in the best spot to make the playoffs again. I really think that those three are going to need to have a much better season. They had a great season last year. All of them hit the ball very well. They played very reliably defensively, but I think they need to turn it up a notch this season in order to make sure that the Royals have their shot at winning the AL Central and solidifying a second playoff appearance in 2 years. As for the rotation, I definitely think it's fine. Now that Singer is out of there, I think the Royals will need to rely more on their offense every single day. If KC makes any big moves throughout the season, it is definitely going to be for a starting pitcher. That's really the main area that I think the Royals need to improve throughout the season is their starting rotation. I like the rotation. It's fine, like I said, but I still think that's really where the improvement is going to be made. Next up, we have the Detroit Tigers, who finished second in the AL Central and were eliminated by Cleveland in the ALDS. The Tigers lost nobody. They didn't lose anyone of note in free agency or really in the offseason. Jack Flaherty and Alex Cobb will be joining the rotation with Tommy Canley, Andrew Chafin, and John Breba out of the bullpen. That is great additions. Gleyber Torres will be taking over at second base. That is to be seen if it is a good addition or not. Overall, I think that the Tigers roster is looking to win the AL Central and make some moves doing it. I do not think the roster we have today and the roster we're going to have on opening day is going to be the roster at the end of the season for the Detroit Tigers. As of now, Javier Baez is projected to ride the pine to start the season. And I agree, frankly. I really do. I think that the Tigers have a number of better, younger options to play the infield. And I think where Baez has the edge is in the field. Honestly, he had a major drop in his defensive mistakes last season than in 2023, but his pitch selection is not good. It's not. It's better than mine. I will admit that, because I can't hit the ball. Never could hit the ball. But Javier Baez, I don't know what it is. His pitch selection at the plate is probably one of the worst in the leagues. I haven't seen the super in-depth numbers on his pitch selection, but it's just, there's memes of it everywhere, honestly. But either way, Gleyber Torres is joining the roster. He will be a slight improvement at the plate for Detroit, but unless he can really clean up all those defensive errors and mental mistakes he was making in the field when he was with New York last year, I really don't know if or how this can be viewed as an improvement. And if he can't fix the defensive mistakes that he was making in New York, I think that the Tigers will view this as a bust of a move, honestly. Also, they have a ton of young players at spring training. Detroit is very excited to have these young guys, and I'm excited to watch them. And I think that we are going to see a lot of them at some point this season. Jackson Jobe is going to take over the AL Central in a similar fashion that Paul Skeens took over the NL Central. I don't think that Jackson Jobe is going to be as nationally amazing, or not. That's not the right word. I don't think he's going to get the national attention Paul Skeens did. However, Jackson Jobe does have a very powerful arm. He can locate his breaking balls very, very well, and he is just a all-around great pitcher that is going to really help Detroit get into contention or even win the AL Central. And finally, Jace Jung is going to be an absolutely special player. And I really do think that we need to see him get some time at the MLB. He needs to see more MLB pitching. He's doing pretty well in spring training. I will admit that. I think he's handling breaking balls very well. I think he's seeing pitches out of the pitcher's hand very, very well. But overall, I think he needs some everyday play at the MLB level. I also am not 100% sure if I pronounced his last name correctly. So if you are a fan of the Detroit Tigers and I messed up his pronunciation, please feel free to let me know in the comment section. I make mistakes. I will try to look things up, but I can't always get it right. And that goes for any team. If I say any of the ball players' last names incorrectly, or if I mispronounce anything, let me know. You're more of a fan of your team than I am. So let me know if I'm making any mistakes, and let me know what your takes are. If you have takes on your team, or if you think I'm way out of line with what I say, let me know. I want to make sure that this show is as great as it can be. And the best way for me to get better is for you to tell me and help critique me. Let me know what I'm getting wrong about your favorite teams. I'm very open to have a conversation on your opinions. But overall, I think the Detroit Tigers are in a very good spot to win the AL Central. And I think it is going to be on the back of a lot of younger guys who are ready to compete at the MLB level. 7MM Sports is your hub for all things Seven Mountains Media sports. You can watch the latest of Sports Talk with Steve Jones episodes. You can find what station you can listen to your favorite Penn State sports team on, and you can even get live social media updates all the time. All of these things are available along with every single show produced by Seven Mountains Sports over at 7mmsports.com. And finally, we are going to talk about the Cleveland Guardians, who finished first in the AL Central and were eliminated in the ALCS by the New York Yankees. They lost via trade Josh Naylor, Miles Straw, and Andre Jimenez, the three different teams. And the only thing of note that they really received was international signing bonus money and a competitive balance pick. They really didn't get much for what they lost, but they did add John Means and Jacob Junis. They're going to be joining the roster on one-year deals. Carlos Santana is back in Cleveland, which will be nice to see, but I kind of feel like his impact is strictly going to be defensively over at first base. He is one of the most reliable first basemen in the league. And everything I said at the end of that Tigers preview kind of goes out the window when it comes to Carlos Santana. He, without a doubt, is one of the most reliable first basemen, and there's no changing my opinion on that. But either way, overall, I don't see the Guardians winning this division. Again, I don't think they're going to do it. I think the Guardians have a great roster of players, but are relying too much on young talent. They will they make the playoffs? I think it really depends on if they can get these divisional series wrapped up and won. If they can win most of the divisional series 2-1 or 2-2 at the worst, if they have a 4-game set with somebody, that's going to be the key to making sure that they win this division and get themselves into a wild card position, because I really don't think they're gonna win the division. I don't. Either way, the East is pretty powerful. The West, not as much, but there is some pretty good teams in the AL West. But we're gonna talk about that next week. Either way, I don't think these younger guys are gonna perform well with the Guardians. The Guardians could look to move some AA prospects for better pitching out of the bullpen. Sewald, Clase, and Junis really cannot be the only 3 guys that have any kind of reliability to help relieve these starters. Once these starters leave the game in hopefully the 6th inning, maybe 7th, you can turn it over to one of these guys and it will be a very reliable shutdown end of the game. However, if you got to pull a starter in like the 3rd or 4th inning and then turn it over to these 3 guys, now you're probably going to be burning them for the next game of the series. And then what are you going to do if your pitcher falls flat or if your starter just doesn't have his stuff? Like you need more than 3 relievers coming out of the bullpen to help your starting rotation and to help your team seal a win. That's definitely my biggest concern for Cleveland is their bullpen. They don't have a very good one, and I really don't think that they have the manpower in that bullpen to lock things down. With all that being said about all of these teams in the AL Central, it is time to predict the final standings. And I predict that the White Sox once again will be in the basement of the AL Central. I do not think that is a bold prediction at all. I really don't. I do not think that's a bold prediction whatsoever. The Twins will follow them in 4th. I just don't think they did enough this offseason. They're going to have to make some big trades for some heavy hitters if they want to compete for a playoff spot. Then I think the Guardians are going to end up falling to 3rd just because their bullpen is not reliable enough to keep them in close games. They either have to blow everybody out and win games like 10-8, like it's MLB The Show, or they're probably going to lose a close one. I'm just not a fan of their bullpen. Then I think the Royals are going to finish in 2nd place with the Tigers finishing in 1st. I really think that the Tigers are going to be able to get the AL Central win this season. However, when it comes to the Royals definitely have the upside potential to steal the AL Central title from all the other teams. The Royals definitely have, I think, the most upside out of any team in this division. Will they prove me right? I hope so. Bobby Witt Jr. is a beast. Vinny Pasquantino is very good. MJ Menendez is solid. Perez is still holding his own, but I'm not sure how many more years Salvador Perez has left in him. Hopefully, it's at least 2. But I definitely think that this Royals roster is very, very good. I'm high on the Royals, but I don't know what it is. Got a hunch that they're going to end up sitting in 2nd, making a wild card run, and I think they will make it to the ALCS this year. I think that the Royals have what it takes to at least get to the ALCS. Will they win it? I don't know. Depends on who they come up again and who's hot at that time. You know, when it comes to playoff baseball, it's all about what team is hot at the right time. That's really all that it comes down to. The Dodgers were the hottest team in baseball last season, which is why they ended up winning the World Series. And they also have some of the best players in the entire league. Like, I think the Los Angeles Dodgers are borderline an all-star team, the whole roster, which is kind of crazy to see. But either way, that is my AL Central prediction. I have the White Sox at 5th, Twins at 4th, Guardians at 3rd, the Royals coming in 2nd, taking a wild card spot, and the Tigers sealing up the AL Central for the 2025 season. Hope you all enjoyed this AL Central preview. Make sure that you head on over to Instagram, X, Facebook, and subscribe right here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. If you are listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or some other podcasting platform that you happen to love so much, head on over to Instagram, X, and Facebook and give Seven Mountain Sports a follow to stay up to date with everything going on in the sports world and enjoy other shows like Seven Mountain Sports On Demand, Sports Talk with Steve Jones, and so many others to come at a later date. I know you all will enjoy everything because you're all amazing, amazing humans and wonderful sports fans. And remember, be a friend, tell a friend. I'm Alec. Goodbye. And I will see you all next week when we talk about the AL West.